But banks, they are the ones in focus. The Finance Ministry is looking to review the NPA recovery, what's happening with the NPA cycle, and there are reports which are indicating that PSBs, that's PSU banks, are going to benefit from the corporate recovery. So let's chat about all of this right now. We've got Pratip Chaudhuri, the former chairman at SBI, joining in, and we also have Mr. Kannan joining in on the show as well. Gentlemen, morning. Mr. Chaudhuri, if I could start off the discussion with you, because there are a few cases like a Ratan India or a Sterling Biotech, wherein promoters are willing to settle outside of IBC as they fear loss of assets. Do you see this as a step in the right direction?
No, I think it's Sterling Biotech, the NCLAT has taken strong exception that how can you accept an offer from promoters who are, absconding. But Ratan and others, if the banks think that that is the best possible solution, then they should be allowed to take.
This entire process of NCLT, Mr. Chaudhuri, some would argue that the underlying value of the asset is getting destroyed completely. A classic point here is that what's happened to RCom. Nothing moved for a long time, and now look at what minority shareholders and even lenders are left with.
Sure, so minority shareholders knew what are they in for. Now, IBC itself cannot prop up the value. The value would be what the buyer thinks is appropriate. So if the buyer thinks this is the appropriate value, that applies to any issue, whether it is stock, whether it is property, that you can't pump up the value by putting some arbitrary number. So it is market determined value, but I agree with you, because as we go further, as the smaller companies come for resolution, value realization would be less and less. Because when you have SR Steel going in, Bhushan, so there are many steel majors who would show interest at a 4 million ton, 5 million ton, 6 million ton capacity. But when it comes to the smaller capacities, I do not think the interest would be as robust as we have seen. So if you stick to the steel example, in the case of Adhunik or Jai Balaji, which are smaller steel companies, I think their value discovery has been much less than what it has been for the larger companies.
Right. Mr. Kannan, we want to get you in on the discussion as well. Morning, firstly, because reports are suggesting that the Department of Financial Services had set a target recovery under the IBC at 1.8 lakh crore rupees, and that was for fiscal 19. However, the recovery so far has been just about 1.1 lakh crores. Do you see the target being achieved by the end of the fiscal?
That's what it says, but I don't know. My understanding is slightly different. It simply says that the ICA is nothing but predecessor to the NCLT, as and when the circular, as and when an account becomes stressed, the banks should go for a proper analysis of the issues and then prepare a resolution package duly approved by all the lenders, implementable, with whatever haircuts or whatever they feel is appropriate, with conditions, and with, of course, finally the rating being approved by 2 rating agencies to ensure that they will continue to be standard assets, continue to be investment grade assets.
Mr. Kannan, big ticket resolutions like SR Steel, Bhushan Power and Steel, that has been taking a lot of time. When do you see the final resolution and the quantum of recoveries? What is it that you're estimating from both of these cases?
See, we have a couple of big tickets proposals which are in the pipeline, and I think the way it's going around, possibly they will get resolved. And if that happens, you will have a big ticket of almost 50,000 crores. So may not actually reach that, but we will be almost there, and which is a pretty good achievement. In fact, there's a little bit of disappointment that the entire thing is being postponed to the 4th quarter. But that's how we have had the thing play out. I think it's a pretty good target which has been achieved, or will be achieved hopefully before 31st of March.
Mr. Chaudhuri, getting your perspective on the same, there haven't really, there have been those big ticket resolutions like SR, Bhushan, etc. They're still awaiting the final resolution. What, in your view, could be done in order to speed this up?
See, I don't have details about SR. I think it is still under negotiation and under bidding. But in case of Bhushan, one of the plants I am aware that Tatas have taken over. So it will differ from case to case, but I don't think I am not in favor of a target. Now target is something that is in your control. But when you are putting up assets for resolution and so to say almost like an auction, you can't put a target that this will be there, and even if you do, it is not based on reality. So targets or the recoveries would be based on the market perception. And similarly, another big sector is textiles. Now textiles also, even you see the largest one, Alok Textiles, got a pittance, some 10 or 15 cents. Now when the smaller plants come up, particularly non-integrated one, only the spinning mills, I think the valuations would be still less attractive. And regarding power sector, it is all in the hands of the government, because the power cannot be sold to consumers, power has to be sold back to the discoms. So it will depend on the position of the discoms. Sometimes they say they will buy, but if they don't buy, the promoters are not, the company is not able to do anything. But on the contrary, if the promoters default, company defaults in supply, the PPA can be terminated. So it's a rather one-sided contract. So we'll see as it goes. But I think towards the close of financial year, that is how the industry is organized, there would be a rush to clear and all the banks would like to show the maximum recoveries.
Mr. Chaudhuri, why this SR Steel case taking so long? I mean, there are clear guidelines which were made, and then the decision is getting challenged. I mean, if IBC and NCLT is a process, why do you think even the case of SR Steel is been admitted and is been given a hearing? I mean, for me, that is a clear indication that the entire process is not watertight.
It can't be, because we are going in it for the first time, and it is much more complicated. There are foreign lenders, there are bondholders, there are different stakes, then there are sister companies, then the promoters or the bidders also have interest in other companies, and it is to be expected that the promoters should do everything possible to either stall or delay resolution, no matter who is the winner. So that is the nature of things that is. But I think it is not right. There is no better alternative. I am not saying the best, but there is no better alternative, no more transparent alternative. But in this case, the law of jurisprudence applies that not one innocent person be punished. But if in the process 100 guilty go unpunished, be that as it may. So that is why I think the government or the authorities want to be seen that tomorrow they are not questioned and their decisions are not overturned, because one thing they dread is that their decisions being called to question and being overturned. So everybody is trying to be the most cautious, and once you give a declaration, once you declare the proposal closed, right, then you can't go back on that.
Fair point. Mr. Kannan, in case of SR Steel, while the NCLT Ahmedabad has approved ArcelorMittal's plan of 42,000 crore rupees, on the other hand, the NCLAT has also asked Ruiyas to first clear dues and then their bid will be considered. So two questions here. If NCLT Ahmedabad has approved Mittal's bid, is this case resolved, would you say?
See, in the case of both of them, it's a bit of a surprise that it has taken such a long time. But at the same time, we'll have to give due credit to the legal authorities that they have patiently listened to the various objections or arguments put forward by the different parties. In the case of SR Steel, there were issues mainly on the bidders themselves, which got sorted out, and at every stage the entire thing was being either referred to the NCLT or a claim was filed to the NCLAT or with this High Court and Supreme Court. But this is a normal judicial process, and what I would say we will get out of this is proper jurisprudence, which will ensure that going forward there will be clarity as to how to handle such cases. These are all the first cases of under the IBC process, and I think this is something which we have to live with it. And going forward, I think it will certainly help a faster resolution process for other cases.
Okay.
Yeah, but why should promoters Ruiya's bid, be even entertained at this stage, even assuming if they do clear dues?
Well, I can't really make any statement on this. Yes, I agree with you that as per the NCLT Ahmedabad, the same thing has been awarded to ArcelorMittal. The NCLAT have, in their own wisdom, accepted the application made or appeal made by the other parties, and they are looking into it. Let's wait and watch as to what is the argument they put forward for either accepting or rejecting their case, and then we will. I don't want to preempt what is likely to happen.
Mr. Chaudhuri, closing comments from you. We can always find fault lines in a process, but the bottom line here is that this is a process which will fix, I'm sure, a lot of intentions of errant promoters. My challenge with the NCLT process is that right now we are looking at good assets, assets where there are takers. Soon this process will move into step 2, when more and more companies which have got feeble assets, they also would be auctioned. What happens then when the buyers will not be there and the assets may not get monetized?
Absolutely. I think that is what I mentioned first, that let us not feel exuberant looking at the valuations that we are receiving for larger companies. As you go down the size spectrum, of course, the valuations or the offers that would come would be lower, and I think the banks have to reconcile themselves that this is the maximum payment they can look forward to. So the banks have to weigh that whether NCLT, this is giving them a better option, or they are better off by selling it to an ARC. But in this situation, I don't think any ARC would also be willing to pay much more and get saddled with that. So the bid will find its optimum value, and value lies in the eyes of the buyer.
Value lies in the eye of the buyer. Mr. Chaudhuri, is that the original one? Because the original one is that beauty lies in the eye of beholder.
Just slightly modified.
A variation of the same. Okay, gentlemen, great to have you on the show. Thanks so much, Mr. Kannan and Mr. Chaudhuri, to really put things into perspective. Great speaking with you.
Thank you.